Hi everyone and welcome to the channel. My name is Bork. In today's video, we'll be covering the latest EN Gacha releases for August 2021. Don't forget to sub and drop a like for the algorithm. I appreciate you being here. Let's go ahead and jump right into this. The first game we're covering is Girl Cafe Gun. And note, this is going to be some footage from Gaming Mobile, so huge shoutouts to him and thank you. Now, when it comes to this RPG, it's going to be a top-down, so an isometric RPG. And it's not like Guardian Tales in my opinion, because Guardian Tales, it has more interactions like with the environment. It's more akin to something like old school like Zelda Link to the Past and stuff, whereas this one is more like a bullet hell. As you can see, like the animations are completely different, and it reminds me in some case of like a twin stick shooter with some abilities that you have right hand side. And there is some platforming, I guess, but most of it is just like jumping to like a particular area and then you tap a button and then you move towards the different sections. As you can see, here's going to be like the bullet hell sort of sections. Now when it comes to this, there's going to be live 2D animations, as you can see here, and most of the lines within the game are actually going to be voice acted. Now, one thing to note is I would approach this game with a word of caution. Apparently it's been re-released in other regions, so I don't know how much I'm going to be like, spending anything monetization wise. And by the way, none of these videos or like games that we're covering, they're not sponsored or anything, so I'm gonna give like my unfull disclosed like opinion on them. And you can also design your cafe on this, but personally, all things considered, when it comes to Girl Cafe Gun, I'm just gonna approach it, if I decide to play it, it's just gonna be another like sort of gacha game where it's like a waifu collector. Honestly, the graphics don't look too bad and the gameplay looks pretty decent. I like how it's switching from like the isometric view to sort of 3D point of view in some ways. A lot of the like gameplay, when I see it, it's sort of real time in some ways where you have like these dodging things. But personally, when it comes to gacha games, the standard isn't too high. And this one, I just want to try it and see like another waifu collector. And personally, if you are looking for a waifu collector to like this standard, I would probably recommend Azure Lane, because I feel like it's just a better version of like this accomplishment, or maybe something like Arknights if you want something a little bit more tactical. And I would say Azure Lane is like sort of like the king when it comes to like bullet hell gameplay. But let's go ahead and jump into the next game, and that's going to be Konasuba Fantastic Days by the Nexon Company. Just note that this is going to be an interesting game because it has a lot of similarities to Princess Connect, as opposed to like its art style and of course like the gameplay. Going to be in an auto format, so I know that might off-put a couple of people, not to mention it's already developed by Nexon. And I'm not trying to trash this game because I'm actually pretty hyped for it and I love the art style. But another thing that sort of bothered me while playing this game like beforehand was like the loading screen. So hopefully they alleviate the loading screens as it's going to be releasing in EN. I'm a huge fan of the Konasuba series, and I feel like there is like an animation like set to like release for it, or there's a new one already here. I love Kazuma, Aqua, Megamine, and Darkness, our sadist sort of tank. All of them are really amazing. Just note that this is essentially a real-time playable anime, fully voice acted and authentic Konosuba with like the original Japanese VAs. And as you can see here, there's going to be live 2D animations. Quality is definitely built into the game. It really comes down to how they monetize it. And just note, there's not really PvP in this game, like not formal PvP where it's like, hey, our Kazuma will fight someone else's Kazuma. It's going to be one of those things where your characters have to deal like a set amount of damage to a boss. I don't think there's going to be anything like a clan battle sort of deal, but I guess most of the game is going to be solo based and you can play at your own pace, which is really cool. So that means you won't have to be like shoved into situations where it's like, oh, I'm losing to this person. Instead, you're just going to be facing them via leaderboards, which is going to be like more of like a subtle PvP in some ways. But honestly, I'm really hyped for the Konosuba game to be releasing, because Konosuba has to be one of the most hilarious anime, like, and it breaks like that isekai like genre where it's like, hey, we're gonna take everything, put it on a spin. And I'm just really hyped to see something of this sort of quality. I like colorful, lighter games, and I'm hoping to have an extra laugh and maybe to see some different lore when it comes to the Konosuba franchise for this release right here. Now, the next game we're going to be covering is Mega Man X Dive, and just note with this series, it is going to be like a 2D action RPG or a side scroller. Personally speaking, I love the Mega Man franchise. Mega Man X was something that I grew up with. You can unlock the gallery with Mega Man X, the 3D images and 3D models, all this stuff. Perfect combo with your S tier weapons. Honestly, what really like scares me is because there's going to be like a weapon gacha. So is there going to be a weapon gacha and a character gacha? Because when it comes to those things, it's going to be really difficult to manage everything. And I feel like with this menu right here, we're probably going to be getting like Mega Man X for free. And I also like how you can switch between weapons with the saber and the original, like I guess Buster. Oh, that guy looks cool. Axel, I feel like he was in one of like the Mega Man RPG games like back in the day on like the PS2. Those were some pretty amazing games, and they didn't get a lot of attention because, you know, there was plenty of RPGs releasing over in that time frame. But personally speaking, this game looks pretty cool, and I am sort of hesitant in some ways to be like, yeah, it's gonna be awesome, you should get hyped for it, mostly because there were some issues in beta, and this game has been in beta for quite some time. But at the end of the day, I'm a Mega Man fan. If I have some extra time and I can try it out, I will try it out. Also, a quick word of caution: when I'm covering like all these gachas and all these games, you don't have to try them out. I just want you to like see what's on the horizon. If you want to try something out, feel free to do so. If I cover like anything on the channel, please don't feel obligated to try it. I just want to like see like a bunch of different games, and I like seeing what's available on the gacha market overall, and just seeing new games come to mobile is just some of the things that I enjoy when covering content such as this. All right, and the next game we're going to be covering is Marvel Future Revolution. Now, I know some people are already playing this game. It's just going to be a huge open MMO RPG or action RPG, however way they want to like title it. Just note that it is going to be published by Netmarble, so the monetization is probably not going to be the greatest. But personally speaking, when it comes to the graphics, it looks decent. It's not half bad. For like gameplay on a mobile device, there's a lot of different things, as you can see, and it's just not terrible when it comes to like the actual animations. I've seen like some of like the Xbox One games and, you know, like the PS5 games when it comes to like the new Marvel stuff, and this looks decent. Like for a mobile game, it doesn't look half bad. They definitely spent some time on the animations, and when it comes to Netmarble, you know, they have a pretty huge budget, so when it comes to like the actual like support of the game, Netmarble games never really die in some ways, which is a good or a bad thing. I don't know how you feel about it, but just note that this is going to get some long-term support, and if you like Marvel games, this is definitely one to try out, because I feel like it's going to be one of the more quality games that we've seen. And just look at this, they didn't need to do all of this for a mobile game. They didn't need to add all of like these cutscenes and like this sort of story with Captain Marvel right here. They could have made like some cheap sort of no necessary like stuff like this. That's all I'm trying to say. They went above and beyond to show you a story. They're trying to make you hype for the game, and personally, it's working as a Marvel fan. Also, shout outs to everyone who's watched Loki. But let's go ahead and jump into other things. Doctor Strange right there, that is probably one of my favorite characters. Now, I've covered this game on the channel before, and it is going to be published by Kakao Games, and this is going to be one of the better publishers when it comes to monetization. But personally speaking, when it comes to World Flipper, I understand if it's not everyone's cup of tea. This game is heavily reliant on everyone having like similar elements or building teams and not having like meta characters, quote unquote, and the gameplay is pretty hectic, and it's one of like the best when it comes to like action RPG, like pinballs games, or just action RPG in general. One of my favorite parts was just like being able to just focus in on PvE, and I was told that auto is going to be one of like your favorite things when it comes to this, because keeping track of all of the different pinballs in this game is really difficult, especially if you run like a multi-pinball team where you can launch like multiple pinballs at once and you're just trying to pay attention to everything. And I think this is a raid because there's gonna be like, I think 9 characters floating on the screen, so there's gonna be like 3 people playing at once, and I don't think they're actually, yes, they are playing on auto, as you can see on the left hand side. When it comes to this game, I really want to try it just for like the actual English subs to this. I don't know if it's gonna be like the greatest thing in the world. I'm just looking for another action RPG. I had fun when I tried it, but personally speaking, it's Psy Games originally developed, and we all know Psy Games is one of like the biggest IPs or biggest like developers in the scene for being a free-to-play gacha. And usually, you know, we've played Dragalia Lost, that's one of the Psy Games things. Going to be a World Flipper right there. Here going to be all the different titles right here on the Google spreadsheets. If you want to check them out, I have links down in the description. Mega Man X Dive, Girls Gun Cafe, Marvel Future Revolution, World Flipper, and Konasuba Fantastic Days. If you're going to ask me which one do I think is going to be the most successful, and this is me just being biased, it's probably going to be Marvel Future Revolution, just because Netmarble is going to advertise the stuffing out of this, and Marvel is already a huge franchise. But if I were to go off the cuff and, you know, just exclude Marvel, I feel like Konosuba is just going to be a little bit better, mostly because of the animation and presentation. But, you know, word of hesitancy because it is Nexon. Anyways, if you made it this far in today's video, consider subscribing, dropping a like, leaving a comment, follow me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter. Once we hit 27,500 subs, we'll be doing a giveaway. Thanks so much for watching. Have yourself a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one.